Just like kind of a brief introduction to what we're looking to do. Um, I think the NYRA racing department team, the management team, has recognized that we've had some vulnerabilities with access to our property and horses getting on property that perhaps didn't belong here, shouldn't have been approved. But I think on a positive side, I think being able to track horses that are coming through gate six before they get there and in real time should assist with an inventory project that Rob has kind of been at the forefront here over the winter time to get our horse inventory kind of dialed in the place where it should have been all along, which in turn should help whoever's writing the condition book, if it's me, if it's Rob, um, have a handle on our horse population really at any given time. We're doing this via Encompass, which is the racing office software that we use. Um, and just trying to have, basically have the best handle possible on who's got what horses at any given time. Um, and as well as kind of weeding out the horses who, quite frankly, were never approved to be on property in the first place. So we created our IT team has created a ShipIn portal at shipin.nyrainc.com. Um, Kind of tried it out on a trial basis with several trainers who are either doing a lot of entries online or have turned install applications online. And basically, before a horse is to ship in to Belmont, we're starting this out with Belmont right now, although eventually we'd like to have it at all of our properties. Saratoga's presents some unique challenges, the seasonality of it, as well as the multiple entry points, where a trainer can submit names of who they're looking to bring in and also attach health certificates and Coggins in this portal. Certainly, horses will not be turned away if the health certificate and the Coggins will be, on the van as usual. But for those that want to just not deal with as much paperwork, that's certainly an option. Um, and we're hoping that 99% of the horses that will show up on this portal are horses that we want on the grounds that are going to participate that were previously approved. Um, but hopefully it'll catch the 1% of horses or thereabouts that end up showing up that have a lengthy, that may be ineligible based on our eligibility clauses, may have a lengthy vets list history, and were maybe previously asked, or denied stall space before. We're really hoping to just identify and weed out those horses that really don't fit the program and have the best handle on who's in our barn area at all points of time. Um, Couple of initial conversations I've heard from trainers say that they've had a few concerns, which I think we've tried to touch up before having this call, is that they may not know well in advance which horses may be coming their way, or they may not know which shipping company will eventually take these horses or bring them in. But we're hoping that most of that information is communicated at least before the horses show up at gate six. So um, it says it's a 24-hour portal. There is same day access to it. I mean, Rob and I are getting email notifications when applications to ship in are coming in real time. And we'll basically try to approve them as quickly as possible, although a 24-hour window would be nice because, we're hoping not to. Our stall office A is not open 7 days a week, although that will get addressed to be open probably at least 6 days a week. Um, but also, don't necessarily want us to be married to our phones 100% of the time, although in the short term, that's what's going to probably happen is one of us will have to approve horses as they come in. So once again, shippin.nyrainc.com. You could do multiple horses at once and do multiple health certificates and Coggins at once. And a trainer will get an email back that's auto-generated that'll say your application has been submitted, and then they'll also get an email back when horses are approved, and then our security staff at gate six will basically have a list of horses that were approved or not approved. And realistically, if there's a horse that's not approved for any reason, between Rob and I, like, one of us should be reaching out to a trainer and just say, hey, don't bring this horse here for whatever the reason might be, or let's have a discussion about this horse at the very least. It may end up being approved down the road, but there might have to be a little bit of legwork we have to have done, in particular if there's veterinary concerns. If there's something eligibility related that's very cut and dried, it's very cut and dried. And you know, that's that's basically the kind of a quick snapshot. Happy to answer any questions about it. Um, I guess one thing that I didn't address is that if a horse is showing up at midnight, realistically, and is not in the portal or has not been approved to be here, we are setting up a space in barn 16, which was the old receiving barn. So the north side of barn 16 may be used for temporary stabling in the event that it's after hours. And, you know, I don't think Rob or I want to get a call in all likelihood, to be honest with you, after 7 o'clock on most work days to deal with this. So if your horse shows up at 11 o'clock and they're not approved, there's been no arrangements made or no conversation to be had, we would likely house a horse temporarily in barn 16. It would be part of the horse watch and certainly address it, the next morning. Um, that's only if horses were not previously approved and they just show up at the gate after hours, so to speak. I think after hours, realistically, for most veining companies as well as for us, would be after 7 o'clock. Um, if the horses are approved already and they show up after hours, like there's no additional information. Security is going to know that. You're going to need to know that as a trainer. Um, but yeah, I don't think either one of us or anybody from our team wants to get a 10:30 call saying, "Oh, I forgot to do this." Like, hey, we may not be available or may be asleep already, or so barn 16 would be the temporary kind of um, detention barn, if you will, for those specific horses. And once again, you can apply same day. So you can be an hour out realistically, and certainly we'll try our best, especially if it's during office hours, to turn these around as quickly as possible. Right now, it's just Rob and myself that will be approving them. Eventually, our barn area supervisor and or maybe even um, assistant racing secretaries may eventually get access, just so it's not just the two of us doing it at all times. But that's kind of a brief snapshot. Happy to answer any questions, Rob. If there's anything I missed that we've discussed, feel free to add.
No, I think you covered all the big points.
We would like to go live with this like the second week of April for Belmont only. I'm going to stress Belmont only because Saratoga will eventually, I'd like to have it so we have the barn area covered from an inventory perspective. Encompass doesn't really let us segment um, Saratoga versus Belmont from an inventory perspective. They're all kind of lumped under one account. So that's part of it. And part of it, as I said, security at Saratoga has its own unique challenges with barns on both sides of the racetrack. And eventually, we'd like to be at a point where we know every horse in every stall in both barn areas from an inventory standpoint. So if people are making plans to ship up to Saratoga with the barn area opening on the 15th, um, we would appreciate you applying to ship in using this portal. Stall ops are actually past due for the training period, and I'm going through them now. But you're not going to get stopped by Saratoga security, certainly in April if you haven't done this. But at some point, I believe our target date was, hang on one second, for downstate. Was going to be uh, April 9th. So that should be 2 weeks from today, if my math is correct, that we would begin implementing this for Belmont only. Um, where, yeah, we would like to see people apply through the portal and be approved and only bring approved horses on the property. Um, so once again, happy to answer any questions while we're on this, or if there's any concerns, or if trainers um, have any feedback, if there's anything here that's really unwieldy, You could do it via phone, you could do it via computer, you could do it via tablet. I've tried it on my phone, I've done it on my laptop just as a test case. Don't seem to run into any issues. But if there's anything on the portal that is missing, we made some tweaks based on feedback from about 4 or 5 trainers that have definitely given us some feedback, and we've probably even had a few more trainers than that that have actually put in applications on this. Um, you know, we're certainly this what the web page looks like doesn't necessarily have to be a final version of it, although there's been tweaks made already. If there's any suggestions that horsemen have, like, can't promise you that we'll implement all of them, but certainly I'd like it to be something that's workable for everybody. And not just us. And if they're relatively minor, Harshal, who's our IT head, has been able to make them, if not in real time, within like the next day or two. So there's been some adjustments made based on feedback we've gotten, and could probably end up making a few more. Eventually, we'd like all the health certificates and Coggins to be digitized. I know that's um, something that other racetracks have gone to. It might be a little bit hopeful, but it'd be nice to cut down on the amount of paperwork the van drivers are carrying, our security staff's carrying, our horse ID departments processing, or our stall office is collecting and then sending it on an envelope just to drive it over to Aqueduct. So, um, once again, it'd be nice to get as much of that digitized. But that's going to be more of a NYRA racing department and security type thing that we need to get to. But the more I think we can get trainers used to submitting some of the stuff on a digital format, I believe Florida's doing some variation of that at Palm Meadows and Gulfstream. Um, that would be good too, because we end up carrying duplicates, we end up moving stuff to Saratoga, and we've got cabinets full of stuff that you know we don't necessarily need to carry in this day and age in a perfect world.
So we we do have a question. Does the form need to be filled in if you are racing at Aqueduct, if you're shipping to Aqueduct from Saratoga on a private van?
If you're in, the answer to that question is no. It's helpful, I think, for horses though that have not been on property, and we have Aqueduct there as a race only option. So people, if they want to submit their paperwork ahead of time, can. Obviously, we know who's on the overnight, and our stall office connects with our assembly barn and receiving barn coordinator Victor Barrios. So we pretty much have a good idea of who's in the entries and who's not. So the race only ones are going to be optional if they're going straight to Aqueduct. However, if you want to save the paperwork or put you in there, at least so we have a digital copy of the paperwork, it would be appreciated. It's not going to change the race day dynamics though of where you ship into at Aqueduct. This is more of a stabling project. But like I said, anything to try to digitize the amount of health related paperwork we get would be helpful.
Okay. So I've put the link you mentioned in the chat.
Yep.
And then we'll distribute that I guess following this, and the recording will be available if anyone missed it.
And if people want to start getting used to it, I mean, we're getting people to do it just, I think, kind of on a trial basis to get used to it. Before the 9th, um, there will be no security really stopping per se, but once again, we just want to make sure at the end of the day, we've ended up kind of having with the barn area that's open year round, having too many instances of horses who really don't belong here. And it's really for the protection of the greater good. If there's a horse that's not eligible to race here, they really shouldn't be training here. And then God forbid that horse ends up getting injured or injures another horse that doesn't really belong here in the first place. It's problematic for really the entire, you know, ecosystem, the entire barn area. Um, and like I said, it would be helpful too, I think, just for us, we have gotten feedback from certain trainers like, hey, do you guys have an idea what's in your barn area at any given time? And the answer to that question is we have a pretty good handle on it, but it can be better. It can basically be better until you're at 100%. I think it's improving. I think between the work that our office has done, Rob's done to implement things, and our work that we've done within Compass, as kind of painful as it has been over a little bit of time, we're in a better place than we were going into this winter. And at the end of the day, it should make the racing product better, and it should give the trainers, more spots to run their horses if we're up to date with everything back there. And once again, I want to stress too that this isn't really a mechanism to try to hurt people's allocations. Obviously, if ShipIn's become, a stall space issue, we'll address it. But I'm hoping that we'll see 99% of horses that we want here, and then we'll have conversations about the other ones. So if you do see a denial for whatever reason, like you should be getting a phone call shortly thereafter, or in a perfect world, a call beforehand. So we're not showing up at gate 6 with a horse that was not approved, that there was fair warning about, and that nobody can say, "Hey, I didn't know this horse wasn't approved for whatever reason that would be." Compliance, I think historically has been pretty good, but there has been enough, I'd say, time wasted or energy or effort wasted getting horses. It's just they don't belong here for whatever reason. And hopefully this will clean some of that up.
Any additional questions?
Marie, please feel free to share my email address. Rob's email address is out there too. They've either been on stall applications. I know Rob put out a welcome letter to the horseman with his contact info. If there's any questions directly that we'd be able to answer between now and April 9th. And like I said, all the mechanisms should be in place where trainers in real time will get confirmation that their request has been received, and then we'll get who's been approved and who hasn't been approved. And like I said, I just don't want us to get to April 9th and then there just be, in a perfect world, we're never really utilizing Barn 16 for this potential reason. Hopefully we're utilizing it for ship-ins that are truly like in there for a receiving barn. But I just don't want us to be in a spot where, especially if it's late in the day, it's like, late in the evening, horses have been on the van for a long time and they're at gate 6 at, 10:30 at night, or, 2 in the morning, and we're, not having them join the barn that they're supposed to go to. So hopefully, this conversation, any questions you guys might have, for Rob, myself, or racing department, call the racing office. Our office is getting up to speed on what we're doing in here too. Obviously, we haven't seen it in real time, but anybody in our office should be able to at least point you in the right direction or get you in touch with Rob or myself to answer any questions if you just call the racing office about this that maybe you didn't think about today.
Okay. Last call for questions.
Also, as a reminder, like I said, stall ops for the Saratoga, as we could do stall ops too, for those that are doing stall applications on the Interactive Racing Office. You can certainly do them that way for all of the meets moving forward. But stall ops for the Saratoga spring training are past due, and then the ones for the meet are due on Sunday the 30th. So hopefully between now and Sunday, for those that haven't turned them in, whether or not you're submitting them online through the Interactive Racing Office, or there's certainly the hard copy stall ops racing office, stall office Belmont, Clocker Stand should have some, or they're on NYRAinc.com. So plenty of ways to do it kind of the old-fashioned way too. So, you know, I think this is a good time to remind everybody that those are out there as well. So,
Okay, great. I'll send out that information. Everyone will have the link, and hopefully everyone adopts it sooner than later.
yep. And feel free, like I said, if questions, email, phone, I'm very accessible. Kristen is our new barn area supervisor, so she's going to be working closely with security and our team on that too. So Kristen should be pretty well up to speed on this policy, and definitely will be before the 9th. So Kristen, if you have any questions too, she should be able to answer them. But if for whatever reason, she can't, she'll reach out to us, no doubt, to get up to speed.
All right, cool. Thank you very much, you guys.
All right. Thanks, Murray.
All righty, bye-bye.
Thank you all. Bye.